Welcome to Bear and Balance. I'm Jeff Perkis. Other side of the screen, Lester A. Wiltfong Jr. Lester, your Chicago Bears, the NFC North leading Chicago Bears, and the unofficial NFC East champion Chicago Bears win a great game on Black Friday against the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. How'd you take this one?
If we're going to give out unofficial titles, let's give them the Pennsylvania State Championship too, because they knocked off the Steelers and Philly in back-to-back weeks. Look, this is a team we thought we'd see at some point, right? In the Ben Johnson era. I don't think anyone thought it would be this good, this quick. And I don't care what the haters say. I don't care what the national pundits still trying to poke holes in what's happening here. It's a good football team. They are not a title contender, maybe yet, possibly, but this is a damn good team, and they play hard for each other, and that's what you want out of a first-year head coach.
Yeah, we talked a couple of weeks ago about, the beating Minnesota. It's not like the final boss in a video game, but it's one of those like end of level bosses kind of early on where you got to beat your divisional opponent, particularly when they're, not playing that well. They've got a lot of talent, but you still got to put them away. They did that, right? And then, Steelers felt a little bit like, hey, this is a game you probably should win, but this is like a established team. They've got a winning record. This is kind of a boss you need to beat. And they did. And then this is like, well, we just warped to a later level. Because I was like, hey, this is this is house money. This game doesn't matter, in terms of the grand scheme of things. You don't have, don't worry about it. No pressure here. But if you win, right? And so it did feel like your character buildup maybe wasn't quite to the level where you could take down this boss, right? Especially they should have been particularly motivated coming off of blowing a lead in Dallas, against their rival. Come home, okay, hold serve against this crappy Bears team that no one wants to believe in, right? And they got punched in the mouth. Mike Tyson would be proud of this Bears effort yesterday.
It's funny you bring up the boxing metaphor. I talked about that a little bit on the article. This wasn't quite an ass whipping like Clubber Lang gave Rocky Balboa in their first meeting, but it was a pretty good beatdown. I mean, when you go back and rewatch it, this game could have been worse. It was a little closer than I think the final score indicated. Even though they beat him by a couple scores, that was still a wire to wire, like you said, butt kicking. I mean, this team. Look, we're going to get into more, I'm sure, once we get going here. But, man, the way the lines played, the way the offensive line, the run game, all of it, the scheme of it, it's just so beautiful to see. And it's Ben Johnson, right? I mean, it's all Ben Johnson. It's him. It's his coaching staff. Yeah, the players making the plays, but they're putting in a great position. I'm still having discussion with some people say, oh, this feels like 2018. And, look, if you want to think that and you want to fan that way, that's your prerogative. I just don't see it because that offense was not as cohesive as this offense. That offense was like a lot of goofy stuff, a lot of trick plays. We talked about it before, a lot of let's try this play, see what happens. And there's nothing off it. I was talking to my buddy last night. As I watch the Bears each week, and there are certain plays I see, I'm like, oh my God, that run. They have DJ Moore sneaking into the flat on this run from the fullback position. That's setting up something later on. Oh, look at this run. They have Cole Kmet coming across on a wham block, but he could easily slip through the line and go into the left flat. There's like so many little nuanced things you see in this offense and how the moving parts are, where you see it all building and building and building. And that's one good thing they did on the Amazon Prime Video show. I have my own issues with Mal Michaels, Kurt Herbstreit, but they did reference that quite a bit. How there's so much the run is married to the pass, and it's so fun to watch as a Bears fan. This is what we've wanted for so long.
Yeah, it feels like a snowball, right? Mm-hmm. And it's moving. And I'm not just saying this because we're in the middle of a snowstorm, but yes. It feels like it's moving downhill, right? And it's picking up more snow, and you're getting bigger snowball, right? And it feels like this offense is building on itself. Again, 2018. This is, we can do this up top. This is fine. This is a nice place for this conversation. 2018 was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And that was an elite defense and an offensive system that was figuring out enough ways to get it done. Right. But it was a lot of like, what about if we run this play? And then they use it once and then it really can't be used again. Yeah. It was all this one-off stuff. And there was no connection between the run game and the pass game. I'm not sure Matt Nagy knew what play action was. Like there's just there wasn't an offensive philosophy. And when you were trying to talk about it in the moment, people were like, shut up. Like, who cares? Like, they're winning games,
Santa's sleigh was so cool.
Right? It was cool, right? Yeah. We probably would have sold a lot of t-shirts if we were selling t-shirts back then by just putting that play on a t-shirt, right? But it's not sustainable, right? It's not a philosophy that is going to win you consistent games over time and over seasons, right? And this feels like a system that is going to be sustainable. And this is all, again, it's different than pretty much anywhere else in the league because it's Ben Johnson that has put this together. And he sees modern football. And like, I'm not an X's and O's expert. I can't dig into all of the nuances and see it. But the elements that I really think are important in football that I have been talking about for years, like begging the Bears, like, please, I need to see a connection between the run and the pass game with play action. Please, I need you to see you hunting explosive. I need you to see you, taking care of the football. It just didn't seem like those things mattered to whoever was calling the plays in Chicago. And it's been very frustrating because that's not the type of football I would like to watch. This is the embodiment of everything I want to watch in an offensive football team. And here it is playing in Chicago. And it may be the hottest thing going in the NFL right now.
It is 100%. Yeah. I mean, it's so basic. Like, why doesn't everyone do this? Well, not everyone can. I mean, not everyone has a feel for things. And look, again, we'll talk about, I'm sure, the show is on. It wasn't the perfect game play calling wise by Ben Johnson. And the thing I love about it is he rarely admits that. He rarely admits that, I mean, I got to go back and look at this. Oh, I looked at the numbers. I probably should have done this. He's quick to point out his deficiencies, as is the quarterback, Caleb Williams. I mean, they both are very self-aware of what's going on here with this team. But at the same time, they're the second seeded team in the NFC. They have a chance to be the top seed after Sunday's games. I don't think it'll happen. The Rams are pretty damn good, but first place next week against the Packers for the NFC North lead. It's going to be a fun week of build up to that game.
Yeah. Before we dive into our categories here, when I was going back and watching, it really felt like those first three drives, they moved the ball with ease. They gave it back on a fourth down on that first drive. They scored a touchdown on the second drive, had to settle for a field goal on the third drive. As this team improves, right, that red zone efficiency, that drive efficiency of converting those into 7 points, that's really when this team's going to arrive, right? And that's when that is 21-3, and not 10-3, right? That's when that's 17-3, and not 10-3. That's where this is heading. And then also, I don't want to lose this, and I didn't know where to put it in. The 4th and 5 conversion to Colston Loveland, was huge because, I mean, first of all, 4th and 5, the announcers are like, are they going for this? Are they really going to do this? Right. And aggressive, it paid off, led to a touchdown. That was 10-9 at that point. Would have given the ball back at midfield. That was the Monungai touchdown. And then the next possession was the Kmet kill shot. And that was on a play action rollout set up by all of the good running. Right. So, I mean, that sequence there put the game away. And I was just like, okay, like, there it is. Like, that's what we've been waiting for, that kind of, like, the aggressiveness to pay off, the run, pass, play action, interaction to pay off, Caleb to do what he does best in terms of, from his previous iteration of a quarterback, and bringing that forward, on the move, laying out a perfect ball for Cole Kmet. So I didn't know where else to fit it in, but I wanted to make sure we talked about that. Was an incredible sequence to put him away.
I love you brought up that Cole Kmet. And look, we'll get into our categories eventually, but this is just fun to talk about Bears right now. So that Cole Kmet play, we talk about how play action, it works whether you run or not, right? It's always successful because you're changing the vision of those linebackers. You're making them think things, to a lesser extent, the secondary as well, but constantly pounding it and constantly running it and constantly dominating with the run game. You're going to get, the linebackers, looking for that, but on that Cole Kmet play, both safeties flew down expecting run. When you get the run game as powerful as that really helps set all those extra nuance in the play action up. And Cole Kmet just kind of, he took off, he ran the seam, and, there was no one really to cover him. It was a nice play. And it wasn't even the read, but that was designed to go to Swift after the play fake. Just like nice, quick, let's keep the chain moving kind of thing. And Caleb was going, to his left. he saw the safeties cheat up. He's like, let's go for it. And like you said, dagger right there. Beautiful.
That's the time to pull the trigger there. So, all right, let's get into these categories. Trench tribute, of course, we start up front, and oh, buddy, this might be it. This might be the day that we just tribute an entire unit.
That's where I'm going. I'm going the entire offensive line because look, when I watch the Good, Better, Best Ben Johnson speech, if you have not seen that video yet, Bears fans, you have got to go watch it. It was the best one yet. But he gives out his game balls. And when he gave the entire offensive line the game ball, I got chills. I'm like, that is beautiful. I'm like, literally, I'm like goosebumps, like, oh my God, that is like so beautiful to see. All 5 of them. I'm not even going to talk about the left tackle. I don't care. They all did great this week. You know, Ozzie, you know, Tooney, Dahlman, Jackson, right? You know, just fantastic. I mean, the stuff they did. And look, and again, it's coaching really matters. And, you know, you bring in the talent, but you still got to put them in good position. And the outside zone stuff was working. The duo stuff was working. I mean, everything worked. You know, Manug, Guy, Swift, they were killing it. And it was all because of that offensive line.
And this is a good, maybe great Philadelphia Eagles front, right? They have built their team through the defensive line, right? They've taken that blueprint of like, we're going to build through the trenches. They've got all this invested, and they made I mean, Jalen Phillips was annoying. You know, he's a good football player, right? There's a lot of really good football players up front there, and they were getting pushed back, you know, 5 yards on some of these runs. I mean, just displacing these defenders, moving them out. I mean, some of these run concepts that have the whole line just washing the entire defensive line to one side, and then the back cuts back off of it. It's like, I mean, that's some high school tape stuff, man, how dominant some of that stuff was. That was awesome stuff. So yeah, all 5 of them deserve the trench tribute here. You know, it's not taking anything away. You know, the defense played well, but like this is you know, we'll get to it here in a minute, but like this is a rare dominant type performance in the history, in the 105-6 year history of the Chicago Bears. This is awesome stuff. And man, this unit has really gelled and come together. And I can't get over how much Joe Tooney looks a little bit like Drew Dahlman. Not totally, but like there's a little bit of resemblance. Like they look like they could be cousins. I cannot believe how much Jonah Jackson and Darnell Wright look like each other. It was like, oh, Darnell Wright's no, that's Jonah Jackson talking. Like it was just like, so it's just funny how they've got these like two doubles here. But awesome stuff. Yeah, of course, for you and I personally, we love to watch dominant offensive line play anyway. But this was just at another level, and this is kind of beyond. Again, this is a really late game boss situation here, and this offensive line is like, yeah, we're better. We're gonna impose our will here. So I just cannot. I don't think we could overstate. We could spend 30 minutes talking about each individual player and how awesome they work together and in tandem and all of that. But it's this is a signature win for the Chicago Bears in 2025. But it is a coming out party for this offensive line to say, this is legit, maybe one of the best, if not the best offensive line of football.
You know, I figure by the time the year ended, this, you know, just based on the talent they acquired and based on the scheme they're putting in, I figure by the time the year ended, this would be talked about among, you know, at least a top 10 unit. But I think the bar is even higher than that. I mean, this is a top 5 unit. I mean, I'm not sure how all the analytics, the grades, you know, the Pro Football Ref Focus and all those guys, I'm not sure where they see this, but, you know, just from getting it done on the field, you know, the pass protection, the run blocking, it's pretty damn good. Like you said, like we love the O-line, so this is awesome for us to watch.
Let's hit up the social media portion, our sweet tweets. Why don't you start us off, I guess?
There it is. Look at our guy, Jeff Burkus at Gridiron Born. You know, before the game started, you caught this, right? I mean, not a lot of people caught this, but you tweeted out, take the ball first means they'll choose direction in the second half with impactful wind. That could be very smart in the fourth quarter. And I did see a lot of people questioning this. I saw more questioning when Greg Olson tweeted it 2 hours after you, but I thought a lot of people saying, no, that's not the rule. That is the rule. If you win the toss, and if you do not defer to the second half, your choices are kick or kick off or defend, right? In the second half, the other team now has to either kick or kick off or defend. No one's going to kick off in the second half. So you knew they were going to take the ball in the second half, which meant you get to defend which goal you decide, which why Ben Johnson knew that was going to happen. He knew the wind was going to be a factor. And you heard the announcers the whole game talking about the wind. Oh, go in this direction. The wind is so much harder to throw, right? Which is one reason why both quarterbacks had a little off day. I'm sure it had something to do with it. But Ben Johnson knew, he's playing chess. He is always steps ahead thinking these things. And that was a fantastic move there, and a fantastic call out by you that, of course, you were way ahead of the game because, Greg Olsen, who was fantastic, he fired it off a couple hours later. I had someone texting me a tweet, "Oh, man, look at this. Greg Olsen's so smart." I responded, "So was my guy. So was JB. He did it.
So my guy first.
Yes.
Well, I was motivated to tweet that out because I saw Weeder had a tweet about, the fact of the coin toss, that the Bears win the coin toss and receive. And the comments below it were like, what a bunch of idiots. Like, don't do that. You got to defer to the second half. And I was like, no. Like, if they came out and said that the wind is legitimate, but think about this too, Lester, is that you get the ball first in the first quarter, you are going to have possession with that wind because the Eagles are going to take the wind in the second half, right? Like that's
second quarter.
Second quarter.
Yeah.
So your possession hopefully will take X number of minutes off the clock with the wind, right? So you're getting a beneficial possession with the wind to start off, and then when you give them the ball and everything, you know that they're going to have the same effect, but you're going to get it in the fourth quarter where a lot of these games come down. So to me, it made a lot of sense. Maybe people don't understand the rule because maybe they're not familiar with it. Maybe they were never a captain, right? I mean, if you went out, that this is the rule. So those of us that were fortunate enough captains of football teams, you know how coin tosses work and how the choices work, but that's generally the case. The only time I've ever seen someone take the side of the field both times, I think, was Belichick during like a particularly windy day. And so it's always kind of stuck out to me that he valued that more than the possession.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's always stuck in my mind. But you saw the Eagles kicker, Jake Elliott, miss an extra point, which was looking big, for a while. And then he missed that kick at the end, just gave that big hook. And I would imagine a lot of that was from the wind. You saw Jalen Hurts throwing into the wind at one point, and they're like, "Oh, that was tipped the line." It was like, no, it was not.
It was
gusted. Got caught in the wind. There was a couple balls that Caleb threw that looked like they were impacted by the wind, regardless of how many RPMs he gets on it. So to me, this was, yes, the standard approach to a coin toss is you defer so that you get the ball in the second half. You'd like to do that 2 for 1, get the last possession in the first half and the first possession in the second half. But when you have something like wind, which can impact the kicking game and the passing game, it's a very smart thing by Ben Johnson. I'm sure he sent out, Kevin Byard to make that call. So appreciate you calling it out because I did beat Greg Olsen by 2 hours because it immediately went through my mind, and I was like, that's a smart play, Ben Johnson. So mine's from our guy Matt Clapp. He's at DeBearNassess, which I'm not sure why he stopped naming his handle there, but he says, I like analytics and stats as much as the next guy, but the way people have been using DVOA, point differential, EPA would be another one to add in there, etc., to reach conclusions about this particular Bears team before today has been eye-rolling. A lot of necessary context is missing. And I think that this is just a good point in general, that there is no perfect stat. And I think you'll see a lot of fan bases, they'll see a stat that favors their team, and then that's the stat that they will run around and say, this is the most important thing. And they measure different things. And I think all of them want to try to approximate what's the most important thing in football. And I think some of them do a very interesting job. The thing when you're interpreting stats is like, okay, does this match what I'm seeing on the field? And if not, why not? What else can kind of explain what's happening here, either from a success standpoint or from not? And so if I just use the stat that I track that I think is very interesting, which is that the fundamental pieces of the football thing, and you look at it over time, in a single season, and the Bears are third in the league for the step differential, right? Like they're doing really well, and it's because they're taking the ball away and they're not giving it away. So it's a really good stat for the Bears, but I didn't start tracking it because it was good for the Bears. I started tracking it last year, game by game, and I've been kind of thinking about this for a really long time. So it's not like I'm hunting for a statistic for that's just all about the Bears, but sometimes you have to dig into data to understand what's happening here, and a lot of that takes watching the football games, understanding what it is that they do well, what's the weakness of a particular stat. So I just thought Matt put it out pretty well and give an opportunity to there's no perfect stat, there never will be. And some of these things have limitations. And if you understand the limitations, you can understand how a football team can still be a good football team, but maybe not show out too well in that particular stat.
There are some very big accounts on social media that take numbers and they know exactly what they're doing. They're sharing a specific stat because they know it's going to rile up fans. We're a very, very passionate fan base. We're a huge fan base, and it gets to Bears fans sometimes. It's the computer cowboy on Twitter, and and then if you go to even some of the guys that cover the Packers, they are sharing specific things because they know there's no context. They know it doesn't matter. Who cares, right? The point differential. Okay, who cares? All that matters is you're getting the win. The Bears lost by 3 touchdowns against the Lions. They got blown out. That's going to skew that point differential for a while. It's going to take them a while to catch that up, but EPA, another one. It matters, but there are certain plays that really affect the EPA. And our guy, Gary at Grim, what's his account? Grim Cuddy. I don't get the Grim thing. I got to have him explain one day, but he had an excellent point about it, how these failed quarterback sneaks or stuff like that, these really affect the EPA, and it really drops it down. So, and then you look at Caleb, for example. He had, even his game last night, he had, I think, 4 just straight throwaways. That affects the play. So there is no perfect stat. You can find something to really accentuate your team positively or really make them look stupid if you find just the right stat, and that's all you focus on. Same with some of these graphs. I think some of these knuckleheads out there just make up graphs and plot points, and they just do it because there's no context behind it. Who cares? This does not match with this. Why are you putting them on a graph and setting it out there? Because you need that blue check engagement. Get the hell out of here with that stuff. So yeah, that's a good I love that tweet when I saw that from him.
Yeah, as a data scientist, and no one wants to hear me talk sciencey stuff, but as someone who lives in graphs or has lived in graphs most of their adult life, a lot of the stuff that's out there is irresponsible and intellectually dishonest, I think is maybe the nicest way to put it. And so if you aren't used to navigating those waters, it can be a little tricky. So for me, I always try to make sure that I'm doing stuff that's replicable. Nothing's in a black box or behind a paywall. I'm trying to make it as understandable and basic as possible. I don't share a lot of things like grades because I don't know what goes in that because it's a black box. Sometimes I want to, and I'm sure I have in the past because, hey, my guy's graded really well here, so I'm gonna tweet this out. Or, hey, look at this graph. Our guy is in the right quadrant. Isn't that great? And it's sometimes they're just random points that someone has put on a 2x2 chart, and it's not useful. And so don't get too riled up about that stuff. I think is the overall point. So, all right, let's hit our stat portion of the show. Caught up in a numbers game.
My number leads into Caleb, so you want to go first? That way,
sure. I probably could have done this a little earlier, but my number is 5, and that is the Chicago Bears for the 5th time in their 106-year history had 2 running backs have 100 yards rushing or more. And I tried, Lester. I tried to find another one. I went way deep in the archives here to try to do it. I reached out to our guy Sam Householder, trying to see if he could pull some stats. But I found that this was the 5th. And so if I go through them real quick, 1955, Rick Caceres and Bobby Watkins, which is not a name I knew, both had 115 yards each in a 52-31 win against Green Bay. 1978, Roland Harper 144 and Walter Payton 105 in a 14-3 win against Tampa Bay. And then 2 from the duo of Payton and Suey, 1 in 83 and 1 in 85. That's been referenced on social media. Won a 27-0 win against Tampa Bay. and the other a 24-3 win against the Lions. I tried to find playoff games. I went back to Nagurski and Beatty Feathers. Like I tried to find another one. Found some stuff that was really, really close, but nothing that was 100 from two guys. I went Bobby Douglas games to see if maybe like they weren't taking quarterbacks and, Justin Fields games, all that kind of stuff. Could not find another one. So we have Kyle Monangai, 130 yards, DeAndre Swift, 125. That's 255 combined yards. That, my friend, is the most combined yards from these duo too, from all those games. So,
Nice.
just a little bit more, but a lot of these are just barely over. It's really hard to get 100 yards rushing in the NFL.
Yeah.
Incredibly hard to get two running backs to do that. And so for only the fifth time, here it is. Two guys doing it.
Kyle Monangai. I mean, I think as fans, we were all, oh, that's a nice pick in the 7th round. We all kind of thought, that's a nice pickup. We kind of watched this film. Look, like most Bears fans, I didn't know who he was before the draft. I knew a little bit just because I hear some of our people in our draft circles, they kind of will mention him on passing. So like they're in my brain, but I never watched film on him. And then you watch me like, okay, I can see how this can translate. I can see how he'd be valuable. It's almost like, deep draft class, these running backs get pushed down, and who knows where he would have went in a normal year. But the pairing of him and Swift, it's fantastic. It's even more so when you think about, okay, yeah, the Bears may have missed on a couple of guys early, but getting Loveland, getting Burden, and then getting your running back in the 7th round, that's a pretty wise use of your draft picks here by general manager Ryan Poles.
Oh, a little love for Poles here.
Love for Poles
we talked about it in the moment with Monangai, how, like you said, deep draft class. So, maybe he's more of like a 4th round pick in a normal draft, and there's been successful 4th round picks. He doesn't have to be a bell cow, right? Like he can be, partnered with Swift. They have different skill sets that match really well. So now you have the whole run game open to you, because between these two guys, you can run pretty much any run concept ever invented in the history of football, right? And so it's been, we keep like, how's this going to happen, right? It's going to happen. Well, he's a rookie. He's got to learn. He's got to come along in the offense. He's got to earn those snaps. Swift missed a little bit of time with an injury, right? So we just didn't see both of them on the field. The offensive line needed time to work through things and gel. And so all this stuff, like, if you saw it in your mind and you're like, I think this could work, sure, yeah. I mean, I've been dreaming about that too, but to this level against an Eagles front, I mean, in the tracking that I do, 20-yard plays from scrimmage are explosive plays, and that's just it's publicly available data. It's easy. Again, go back to my philosophy. But a lot of people will say 10-yard runs or 12-yard runs or 15-yard runs. Like it's all over the place of what people consider an explosive run. And I don't know what the number is, but the number of runs over 10 yards in this game, I should have went back and counted it. I mean, it just kept happening. And it was so impressive from these two guys to just continue to get first down after first down running the football. And I mean, if you're going to do that, you're going to win a lot of football games. And we knew what Swift was, and he's probably the best version of himself in this offense. We did not know what Kyle Monangai was beyond, hey, this guy led the Big Ten in rushing for a couple years, and he doesn't put the ball on the ground. And you're like, oh, okay, that's great. He's pretty small. Is it going to be okay? Yep, more than okay. Yep, he's tough. I don't even know a comp for a guy that's his size that runs that hard. That, I mean, just like he just keeps bouncing off of tackles and just he's moving forward. That leg churn. I don't know who the comp is, Lester. Is it?
Wasn't there someone with a nickname of Muscle Hamster at some point? I think played for the Bucs.
Doug Martin.
Martin. I'm not sure how size of a comp's there, but I just see him. He's just a ball of thicker. And then look, this is his rookie year, right? I mean, he's only going to get better the next few years. He's in an NFL strength room, so it's going to be better. Go back to the Eagles thing. Yeah, they don't give up rushing yards. This is the first time they gave up a 100-yard rusher, and they did it twice in 34 games. They haven't given up 200-yard rushers in 20 years. And they haven't given up this many yards rushing since 2015. So, they made a point in Philly to bolster their trenches, and the Bears said, "Not today, my friends."
Is that cool?
Yeah, that's a nice, cool story, bro. We're gonna kick your ass now in this. So yeah, awesome stuff.
Awesome stuff. All right, what do you got?
My number is 20, and that is 20 miles per hour. And I saw this tweet from Tony Holzman Escareno, who does some NFL research for the league. And he said the only players with more carries reaching 20 plus miles per hour than Caleb Williams this season, who has 4, are Jonathan Taylor and Jahmyr Gibbs, who have 6 each. That's a fast dude, man. He didn't run at the combine, so a lot of people didn't realize what a good athlete he was. But coming out of high school, he was a dual threat guy. That's what he was. I mean, yeah, the arm strength is great, but he is a fantastic athlete. And you can even see it when he hits that top speed. And I'm assuming it was on that run where he kind of made that nice move forward, kicked back, created some separation, and then just took off to the edge. 20 miles per hour from your quarterback. I mean, that's Justin Fields-esque, you know. Can I say Justin Fields in a positive manner here? I mean, that's fantastic stuff from Caleb Williams. And look, he doesn't want to run. He wants to make the plays from the pocket when he can, but having that as a additional weapon back there, which is something we have not seen really Ben unlock. He hasn't really done much with the quarterback runs. He saves it for a good moment. He'll call a nice run. He'll call a nice rollout, a naked when he has to. And we saw him do it in this game too. He had a nice run with Caleb towards the end there where he kind of ran and picked up that yardage and slid to stay in bounds. So having that extra additional weapon back there from Caleb is outstanding.
Yeah, let's just move into Caleb's corner here because, and I'll start by talking about his runs. I think that is an aspect of his game that doesn't get talked about enough, but also doesn't get used too much. It doesn't get overused. And I love that that's not getting spammed, because when you do that, you're exposing your quarterback to a lot of hits. And I mean, you see the Bills. I mean, Josh Allen's built like a tank, so whatever, right? But they'll use that, and you're like, do you need to expose him to that hit here? It's the first quarter. Like, what are you doing, right? And so, you know, you'll see Mahomes scramble for yardage, you know, but he seems so wise when he uses that, when he turns that on. It feels like Caleb's got that mentality of like, hey, I know that I have this, and this is something I can use if needed, but do I really need to, you know, use this all the time? And so, you know, the quarterback keeper idea, or, you know, quarterback leads or stuff like that. I like that Ben Johnson isn't spamming it. It could be very tempting, like, hey, I run this guy 7 times a game, you know, like design keepers. They're probably going to be pretty effective. You know, like think about New York with Jackson Dart. You know, that guy's super effective because he can run the football. You know, could he be as effective without it? I don't know, right? And Jaden Daniels ran a ton, right? I don't know that he can be effective without it. But Caleb doesn't necessarily need that, but it's an amazing tool. And I actually went down and tracked. It's like, okay, it's 5 carries for 13 yards. Okay, that's nothing. Yeah. That's not a interesting stat line. But 2 of them were sneaks that both resulted in a first down. One of them was a scramble play that ended up being a first down. That was the 20 miles per hour thing, the scoop back and forth. There was another scramble play that I think that if he really wanted that first down, and maybe like I kind of wanted him to do it, he would have needed to take a hit. Mm-hmm. You know, they kind of had him boxed in, but he did a quarterback slide short of the first down marker. And then he had the keeper at the end that, you know, kind of almost iced the game, you know, for a first down. So he had 5 carries for 13 yards, 4 of them for first downs. Yeah. So that was a wise use of the legs, right? So I think it's a great point to build up and a great way for us to kick this off, because, Lester, the passing stats are not very fun to talk about.
No.
Keep in mind the wind, and certainly a factor for both quarterbacks here, but 17 to 36, 154 yards, 1 touchdown, which was an absolute dagger to Cole Kmet, 1 interception. A really good play by a defensive lineman. You know, does Ozzie need to kind of get in his face a little bit? Like, what, you know, does Ozzie need to be going out and like letting him? Was that a screen? Does Ozzie need to try to be out in front blocking there? I kept trying to figure out what's happening here, that defensive end is standing there like he is, because I think that might have been a little bit of a scheme failure, or maybe a failure by Ozzie there by not engaging. But a great play. Defensive linemen aren't doing that very often. So yet another kind of random pick that we've had from Caleb. It's not like a bad idea, right? It's not a bad decision. It was just kind of an amazing play by a defensive lineman. Took 2 sacks. You got a little bit of work this week. Lost 10 yards. Missed, Zacchaeus in the end zone for a touchdown. Would have been a pretty awesome highlight reel throw, but he was pretty open. I think Caleb certainly wants that one back. And then he missed Rome in the end zone, and he just rushed that throw. Didn't get anything on it. Didn't get his feet set. So some missed opportunities. Some players that slipped multiple times on the surface, costing some chunk yardage, which would have made these numbers look a little better. But overall, when you're running the football like this and you're operating this offense and you're contributing multiple first downs and you made some big pass plays, some of those 17 completions were really big pass plays. I don't know. I don't have a lot to complain about here.
Yeah, no, it was a good overall. Look, Ben Johnson said he called too many pass plays. After he had a chance to go back and think about it, it happened. But he also said that, look, you just can't keep doing the same thing over and over. You can't keep running the ball. You have to try and mix it up because eventually, it's all about, you have to be balanced in a certain aspect. Even when the run game is clicking as much as it is, you got to – and look, they ran 80 some odd plays, right? So it was like you can't just run the ball 80 times. You got to try and mix it up. And look, when he goes back and watch the film, he'll see that. He'll also see Caleb throwing the ball away to avoid a sack at one point. We saw him dirt a couple screens, just weren't there. We saw him do another couple where he kind of rolled out. So that adjusted completion percentage will kind of pick it up a little bit. And those are in the end of the day, those are the smart play, right? You want to be smart there with that thing. And those slips, man. Whenever I see bad footing in a Philadelphia field, I always think of the old was it Wendell Davis? Not Wendell Davis. Which old Bear tore both? Was it Wendell Davis?
Wendell Davis, yeah.
I always think of that, man. That bad footing in Philadelphia always makes me think of that. So it was nice that finally towards the end there, the Eagles were hit with a slip on that Loveland catch on the sideline there. So, it was a weird footing. I'm not sure why. I haven't really noticed that was something that Eagles fans complained about their footing before. But, yeah, it was I can't complain of his game. Like I said, the numbers weren't the best. But when you watch the body work, when you kind of go back and watch, you're like, okay, smart play dirting it, smart throwaway there. Oh, he slipped here. Yeah, he missed these, but that happens with every quarterback in the NFL. In the wind, and it was really bad wind. And they talk about it. It was mentioned on the broadcast all the time. Right. I thought Ryan Fitzpatrick on the Amazon halftime and on the postgame show did a good job breaking down quarterback play. He's pretty good. He does a good job breaking down quarterback play, and he was fair in his assessment. Yeah, Caleb missed this. His feet were sloppy in a couple times, but the wind was rough. He said it's hard to throw in this weather. And it's something that people now, and as this week goes on, Packer fans will look back at the stat line and say, oh man, Caleb sucks, because they'll see the percentage and the rating. And again, there's no context to these numbers sometimes. So you need that context to the numbers.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know that there's that much more to say about Caleb in this one beyond he's quarterback in a football team that's 9-3 and just went into Philadelphia with a win. I mean, again, it's its own thing, right?
He made the plays when he had to.
Yeah, and if you watch the game, you saw that wind was impacting both players, both quarterbacks, both teams, kickers, et cetera. So punters, right? I mean, it was impacting any ball in flight. Yeah. So that's important to note here. So, all right, before the break, just a quick plug. We've got our holiday promotion, Holiday 18 for 18% in honor of Caleb, of course. Of all of our merch, Lester's got his hat and mug with, I assume, a tasty beverage inside of it, or water. I don't know.
Just a coffee today. It's still early. Coffee. I mean,
it is early.
Morning to me, so yeah.
I texted Lester early this morning, and I said, we got to talk about this thing. I want to, it's snowing outside. I can't do anything else, but I'm too excited. Yeah. And we're also excited about this holiday promotion because people are buying stuff, supporting us, and we really appreciate it. And this is a really good opportunity to, get a nice discount. We would love to see. I think it'd be cool to give somebody a present if they know the show, or just give yourself a present, because
treat yourself.
I do plenty of that. I'm like, you know what? I like this. I don't think anybody's going to buy this for me. I'll just buy it for myself. Black Friday deals are a lot for me, or just presents for myself. That's generally how I treat things. So anyway, thanks for all of you that have bought something. Hopefully you like it and it's working out. Click a pick, share it, and we'd love to see it. All right, quick break. After the break, we'll do everybody's favorite segment, the Three Bears. Stick with us. All right, Lester, Three Bears, hot bowl of porridge, which is just like a tank.
Where do you go?
A cold bowl of porridge, which I think I've got something, and the just right. So let's start with the hot. Who you got?
Like we've talked about the offense quite a bit. So I feel we got to give some love to that defense. And I'm looking at the game and watching what happened. And I'm just going to go the defense in general. Dennis Allen, his use, his play calling. Okay. You know, I couldn't find one place where like, man, that's really above and beyond my expectations. I just thought overall, holding Philadelphia. And I know Philly fans will say, oh, we're having a down year. Fine. You still got Saquon Barkley. You still got Jalen Hurts. You still have a pretty good run game. And the Bears just came out and they made plays when they had to. I mean, there wasn't a lot of no sacks, just one quarterback hit, just one tackle for loss. It was just a solid game, a really good game plan from Dennis Allen, who there was a lot of talk about Ben Johnson versus Vic Fangio. But I think Dennis Allen was probably the top coordinator in this game because what he did to Philly, I didn't expect this. I thought this was going to be some points, even with the weather. I thought Philly would be able to move the ball, and they just couldn't. I mean, it wasn't it was Dennis Allen doing Dennis Allen things with some of his personnel usage, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later too as well. But just really good job overall by this defense, and they're really coming in their own. I mean, the turnovers are there, obviously. You know, they're good on third down again. Those two key stats, right, for a defense, they still have that going for them, and they're starting to get healthier. And there's still some more reinforcements yet to come. So this team could be building towards being really, really good here in the next few weeks.
Play your best football in December. That's what Ben Johnson talked about earlier in the year. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I think that's a great call out, especially since we've been spending so much time talking about the offense. And this is going to sound really weird, but I think my favorite sequence. This does not make sense. So, you can call me out right now. I think my favorite series was the second touchdown drive from the Eagles, because you could just sit back and play prevent defense and let them kind of pick you apart down the field. He was coming after him. He was sending blitzes. They were coming from all over the place. There was a lot of mixed coverage. Like, there was some really interesting stuff. He made the Eagles earn that going down the field. And a lot of coaches won't do that because it's like, hey, man, like, let's not get beat. Let's not get burnt here. It's just like, try to run some clock. And he's like, no, I'm going to make him try to make quick decisions, check it down. We'll tackle in field. And like, I was like, yes, live by the sword, die by the sword. I love this kind of defense. And yes, the Eagles got a touchdown. Like, I mean, so it's insane for me to say like, that was my favorite sequence, because why would it be? But I like the aggressiveness. Right? Like, it wouldn't have been surprising if the Bears would have been able to come up with a sack there, or would have been able to get another turnover there, because they had that aggressive mentality. Keep the foot on the gas, like, keep that aggressive mentality. And I think if that's how he wants to pair with Ben Johnson, who's also going to keep the foot on the gas, who's also going to keep that aggressive mentality on the offensive side of the football, this could be a beautiful marriage. I mean, like, Bears football is going to be so much fun to watch. That if that's the mentality that they bring forward, it's gonna be so much fun to watch.
Dennis Allen's not going anywhere, unless he decides to step away and retire. He's not going anywhere. Look, he's going to lose some coordinators because that's what happens when you have a good team. You lose guys, but that's fine. This coaching staff as a whole, there are a lot of young up and comers, there are a lot of veterans. I just think it's a very good mix, and like you said, man, this is going to be the team Bears fans can root for a while. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, just real quick before I get to mine, mine actually is going to be Ben Johnson. So I guess I'll say, like, Ben Johnson putting this staff together. It's rare for a first-time head coach who's not like an older guy to be able to put a good staff together right away. And the thing that really Ben Johnson was such an amazing, attractive candidate. So he had not one, not two, but 3 full years of offensive play calling where the Lions were a top 5 offense. It's just like you do not get to see that level of resume building before you get handed the keys to a franchise. And he, his first cycle, he probably wasn't ready. His second cycle, he backed away from the Washington job. The third cycle, like, he's ready, man. But through that time, he's also working with his agent. He's working with other people. He's having these conversations like, hey, if this happens, I'd love to pull you with me. Hey, if this happens, right? And so he's probably had 50 conversations with people, knowing, hey, I'm probably going to take a job this next cycle if I'm offered. And here he is, right? Here, now let's put together this staff. I don't know that it's a complete staff. We've talked about Richard Hightower and things like that, but like, there's a lot of guys here that are going to be here for the next couple of years. They're really built here for the next few years. And the Dennis Allen hire was a great one. The reason why I'm going to give Ben Johnson the hot bowl porch is, like, a lot of people didn't give the Bears, maybe they were 7-point underdogs here. They come in with like a smash mouth concept here of like, this is how we're going to win this game. And they just bully the Eagles the whole game. And the amount of variety of the run concepts and how he was using personnel, everybody's bought in, and like, you just see it. And yes, the good, better, best locker room celebrations are becoming such a like, oh, I need the video. Like, there's one, I need the video.
Yeah.
And you're just waiting for them to drop this thing. And Ben Johnson takes off his damn shirt, Lester, and goes crazy because why? Because the Wiener Circle said, we'll give out free hot dogs if Ben Johnson takes his shirt off. Yeah. And I remember reading that a couple weeks ago. I'm like, okay, cool. What, we're just wish casting into the world now that you want to see Ben Johnson with the shirt off? And he does it. He takes his shirt off. And by the way, he doesn't skip the weight room. He's looking pretty good, right? But he did it because he knew, I think that's how you become, woven and ingrained in the community, is that that's going on. You knew that happened with Caleb throwing the 4 touchdown passes earlier this year. You heard about that. Oh, now they got this out of me. And you thought, hey, I get a big one.
Yeah.
I might do this thing, right? And I love it. Like, I love it because that's how you become beloved in a city, is by understanding the community and being part of it.
He's a Chicago guy. He may not have started that way, but he's a Chicago guy. And look, you understand it. And look, I think the Wiener Circle mentioned that the week before the Ravens game, right? So that obviously the Bears lost that game, and it's in the back of his mind, right? I mean, it's there, and I'm sure the players have talked about it too, because they've been, they're on a winning streak again, so I'm sure they've talked about it. The Wiener Circle did another retweet where they said something about it again, so they're cognizant of it. Look, this is great for them. It's great for obviously the Bears. They're going to give away a ton of hot dogs, but man, that's some publicity you cannot overlook. It's just awesome, and that's I have never been there. I know what it's all about. It's a if you haven't been there, it's on my bucket list. I want to make sure I get there at some point, because I'm in Chicago every now and again doing things, working there, but you got to go. I mean, if anyone gets out there, I mean, those videos from when Caleb did it, when Caleb's there, it was fantastic, because of course they have to mute out all the talking, because it's very vulgar. It's a very vulgar place. It's very if you're not expecting it, like I saw a lot of social media posts where people, oh, that's terrible. Why would they talk like that? That's what they do. That's kind of their thing. Yeah, but when he took his shirt off and he did that, I don't know if you caught Jacob's post-game show. He was getting tweeted and getting texted from his parents and his family. Oh my God, Ben's taking his shirt off. And Jacobs in the middle of his show had to stop. I got to stop. I got to see what's going on. So it took everyone by surprise. No one expected it. And like you said, that ingrains you you're woven now into the culture of the city. And that's what you want. This is a Bears town first and foremost. It always has been. When the Bears are good, man, everything is good in the NFL.
Lester, I watched it. I was at the gym last night, and I told some people that I was like, I got all this nervous energy. I'm so excited. I'm just like, I got to go to the gym. I got to get a lift in. And I'm telling you, I was so juiced off of this victory that like I went up a weight in every single lift that I do, and I was getting through it. I was flying through it. I am so sore today. Like it came back down to earth. But that's like that energy just, it just goes through a fan base goes through a city, right? Like it becomes alive. And people talk about how when the Bears are good, how Chicago just has this different energy to it that can't be replicated by anything else, right? Obviously, the Bulls in the 90s are their own thing, but like when the Bears are good, the city feels different. And this to me is part of that, is like that's a very Chicago, we consider a very Chicago thing.
Yeah.
Nothing more Chicago than like places like that. And they're getting now into this like post-game celebration that's hitting everywhere, right? Like you say, they couldn't have asked for anything better. They're going to give away a lot of free hot dogs. That's a tax write-off, right? That is a marketing campaign. It's a tax write-off, and they are going to get so much out of that. It's wonderful, good for them. Next time I'm in town, we'll make sure
we have to for sure,
and we'll take the abuse for you guys, and we'll report back. Maybe we can try to record it, and then we'll have like a not safe for warning before. Yeah, a warning before we play it. So, all right, let's turn it around. Cold bowl of porridge. I actually do have something, but did you come up with something?
I did. Before I go on, the only shout out real quick. Derek Owens just placed an order on our Second City Gridiron store. Appreciate the support. Hope you enjoy everything out there, and have happy holidays, whether you're treating yourself or for a gift for someone else. Yeah, I had to struggle for the cold, because I'm on such a high, right? It's like, oh my God, this is so fun, and then I go on social media and it's like Bears fans are pulling receipts. My For You section on Twitter is all receipts. Oof. I'm like, oh my God, dude, it's just so fun. So look, I'm going a little different direction here. My cold bowl is to the haters, and I know there's some out there still holding on to their Jalen Carter over Darnell Wright takes. There was a few plays in this game. Look, Darnell Wright didn't have the best game, right? He had a couple mistakes here, but there were a couple plays in this game where he just bodied Jalen Carter. Look, that was the right move in the moment. And no matter what happened with the two of their careers moving forward, that's always going to be the right move. Even if Jalen Carter would have been a 10-time Pro Bowler, right? If that's in the moment where the Bears were as a franchise, that was the right move, taking Darnell Wright over Jalen Carter. Now, look, Wright's on the cusp of a Pro Bowl. Jalen Carter is still a good, fantastic football player, but here they are one-on-one. They had a chance to match up a few times, and Wright had the better of Jalen Carter.
Ooh, I love this. I mean, I think Jalen Carter's a really good football player.
He is.
I think Darnell Wright's a really good football player. They can both be really good football players. And the funny thing you said, like, oh, Darnell Wright didn't have the best game. He had a couple mistakes. Yeah, but that's an offensive lineman's tally sheet, right? That's like, now he had a couple plays that were bad, so that's notable, right? But otherwise, he's playing consistent good football all year. And again, this was against a very talented front.
Yes.
Jalen Carter, you go back and watch him. He's freelancing on some stuff, which is just opening up holes. Like he's not maintaining some of the gap integrity that you would expect the defensive tackle to maintain there. I think I saw Baldinger actually call that out, but like I was noticing that on my rewatch because he's a really good player and he has a couple flash plays a game. You'd be like, man, he's really good, right? And so it's so interesting that you have two players that are both really good football players that are just graded on such different scales because they're offensive linemen or they're defensive linemen. Where an offensive lineman kind of needs to be perfect, but a defensive lineman, if they flash a few plays, like, man, he's awesome. Yeah, we got to pay him all the money. So just funny how that works out. Speaking of perfection, my tongue-in-cheek cold bowl here is that you got to give it to Joe Thuney. He had a false start. What are we doing, Joe Thuney? I mean, come on, man. I thought it was so funny that he got called for one where he didn't move earlier in the year, and so he had like this one penalty that I don't understand why.
It was very subtle. I went back and watched it. It was hard to find.
Like you were working for it. I think if you're calling that on him. This one he did, and they kind of showed his face, and he kind of just had this look like, oh, that's weird. I don't know what this feels like.
Yeah.
So. That was funny. Anyway, tongue in cheek because, whatever. If you're Joe Thuney, you get away with that. My cold bowl honestly goes to, and we talked about it a little bit already, but the field conditions at the link. And I think that this is a bigger conversation to have because obviously Soldier Field gets killed, for having bad field conditions. The Meadowlands in New York or New Jersey, I guess, but like they get killed. They get a lot of players injured. And then you go watch a Premier League soccer game or watch what they're doing with some of these fields where they are taking care of this. This is amazing system that pulls like, increments of the field down under like an LED light and irrigated system and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, why can't the NFL do that? The NFL should be doing that. The NFL should have invested in every single stadium the best possible field so that you get a good product. I mean, yes, weather conditions can impact that. That's fine. It's slick because it's snowing, but like it shouldn't be because the field sucks. And there should be a perfect field every single time in every single one of these stadiums with the best possible, safest playing surface for these players, so that they're not going down on field turf. They're not these like soft tissue injuries that happen because of the field conditions. I'm not like a racing car guy or anything like that, but they build these tracks specifically for high performance of these automobiles that go around. Like they don't build your road out in front of your house with the same material, right? So you should absolutely be investing in every single one of these stadiums. And personally, I think you should be investing every single one of these stadiums with the amount of cameras that Amazon puts on for their production, because we should get that level of quality too. The NFL makes way too much money to not do this, for one, player safety, but two, for the betterment of the product. Keeping these players healthy and then on the best track for them to perform with their ability should absolutely be the goal of the NFL.
You have to reach out to some of the people I know that cover the Eagles, see if this is an ongoing thing. Maybe it has something to do with the weather. I'm not sure if, the way maybe some dew in the air, but man, it just seemed like there was too much going on. And like you said, look, this day and age, what are we doing here? Have the best place, the best product. This is why I'm cool with get the Bears in a dome. And look, if the Bears can get in the dome with grass, I think that's even better. I mean, like you said, you mentioned some of these soccer stadiums. The last game, was it the one in Germany or the one in Spain, where it was, like you said, it was the fields kept underneath.
Yeah,
they bring it up in sections. I know the Cardinals, they have an indoor stadium, but they have a grass field where it kind of rolls outside. There's ways to do this, and I think that the NFL really should look into this. And you keep hearing them say, well, there's no really study saying that turf or grass, which is better. Well, I don't know. I think what do the players want to play on? I think that's what you have to come down to. If you can't make a conclusive, study with injuries, then what do the players want? And I think the players all want to play on grass, which I think is probably better for them. And I think that's what you should do. I think that's, like I said, when you're talking billions, what are you doing? Get a grass. Get some grass.
Invest in every single stadium to get whatever that European stadium was. I firmly believe that is the only right thing to do for the NFL. So, All right, just right, Bull. What do you got?
I like the way the Bears use the defensive backs in this game.
Yeah.
Jalen Johnson coming back from injury, Kyler Gordon coming back from injury. Look, you're missing Tyreek Stevenson. So the thought is, okay, they're going to probably play Jalen a little too much. Well, they didn't. They rotated them. They played Kyler Gordon outside on quite a few reps. They played, CJ Chauncey Gardner. He played the entire game at nickel. They played a lot of nickel. They played some dime. I thought they were very smart with how they eased these two guys back in the lineup. And considering both of them were out, they were injured, they came back and got hurt again. I think you really got to be cognizant of these guys moving forward. So I thought that was a brilliant way how they used them. And I'm like, well, why isn't Philly running more? Why don't Philly go more jumbo stuff and just kind of run over these guys? Because you're playing, two linebackers. I'm in Jesus Louise. I'm looking at the name. Ogbongbemiga. That's not
Ogbongbemiga.
I'm in Ogbongbemiga, son of a bitch. So anyway, he only played half the snaps. They were nickel and dime pretty much the whole game, and the Eagles couldn't take advantage. So kudos to them. Kudos to Kyler Gordon playing some linebacker-esque stuff. Same with CJ Chauncey Gardner, physical in the run game. I just thought it was a perfect way to use those guys coming back from injury.
CJ Gardner Johnson.
Did I say Gardner Johnson? Johnson Gardner? Son of a
you said Chauncey, which is his name. CJ Chauncey, which is his name. CJ Gardner Johnson.
Too many names. I need a couple Joe Smiths.
That's way too many names for you.
Yeah, I need some Joe Smiths.
CJ GJ.
Okay, I can do that one. Son of
okay. I agree, and I wanted to actually the two names that I wrote down were Nashawn Wright because he's doing the thing right, and Kevin Byard right because they continue to they both had the takeaways here. I'm so impressed with Wright jumping in there and forcing a fumble because I don't think I've ever seen that happen. I have seen them run that stupid tush push play 100 times at this point, and I've never seen anybody run in and try to take the football. And I thought it was brilliant. And when he like ran in there, I'm like, I think he might have popped that out, like because he saw the beanbag. You see the beanbag fly, that's a fumble. I mean, I don't know why Michaels can't pick that up, but like the ref threw the beanbag. It's like, oh, is that a fumble? Like, what's going on here? And then you see they're starting to kind of freak out. Not only did he get in there and he forced the fumble, but he then went in, dove after it, and got it.
Yeah.
Wrestled, won the tug of war with a tight end or whoever that was that jumped in after him. But that's it. That is a huge play. It was a 1-point game at that point. They were in scoring range. So if nothing else, it was just going to take points off the board. I mean, it was so impressive, and he continues to make plays. And yes, he got matched up against AJ Brown, who ate his lunch a few times. AJ Brown's one of the best receivers in the league. I'm not too worried about that. That first touchdown where it was like an underthrown ball, like Wright had great position.
He was, yes. He was right there. Yeah.
And so if it was a better thrown ball, and don't tell me like, oh, he meant to throw it back shoulder. Like, no, because he recovered. Wright recovered when the ball was in the air. And so you can't tell me that Hurts wasn't trying to lead Brown there. I think it was just an underthrown ball. Maybe it was the wind. Like I don't want to take that away. Brown makes an incredible adjustment, but like Wright was in step with him. Like that was good coverage. And sometimes a great player makes a great play, and that's what happened there. Overall, like it's kind of what the Just Right Bowl. That's kind of what we expect now at this point. Is that he's gonna battle. The other receiver's probably gonna win some of those reps, but he's gonna make a big play, and he made a big play. Byard, same way. Like he's playing free safety, a little bit of a duck, and he went out and got it. Beautiful catch to bring that in. This is a good football player. Taylor, our colleague Taylor Dahl had a tweet said something like, basically like you guys were telling me you didn't like the Byard signing when it happened because he wanted somebody else, and I was like, yeah, it's because you actually watch Titans games, and a lot of Bears fans don't. Like she has to because she's a Jaguar, so she's going to be watching that divisional game as well. But if you watch Titans games, Byard, good football player, right? So that none of this should be a surprise. And he's got the C on his chest, and he's bringing a lot of leadership as well. So both of those guys I thought deserved mention here because they both made big plays that without it, this game might have tilted a little bit differently.
Wright he's a slight dude, right? He's not like a big bulky guy. The fact that he can get in there and muscle that ball away from Hurts. And look, Dennis Allen said they asked him about the tush push. He said they had a plan.
Yeah.
Nashawn Wright was the plan. Get in there and take that ball away from Hurts. And Philly fans are so mad. Oh, that play should have been blown dead.
Oh, forward progress. Give me a break.
Shut up. He was still up. He was still moving. If they would have blown that dead and it was short of the first down, you would have been crying about that. So look, it's a great play by Nashawn Wright. It's taken away. And like you said, the most impressive thing was he dove down. Because when you watch that replay, the close up, that ball is like down between feet. Like he had to like move legs, like going through looking for the ball between all these bodies, and he got it. He pulled it out of there, and his Pro Bowl quest continues. I can't see how you keep him out of it at this point. It's just going to get paid. He's going to get some good money in the offseason, and good for him. I think it's a fantastic story. They had a spotlight of it in pregame. I just think it's awesome that what he's doing now, and I'm really happy for the kid.
I don't think you can keep him off the field when Tyreek Stevenson's healthy, when Jalen Johnson is perfectly healthy, when Kyler Gordon is able to play full reps. Yeah. I think he has to continue to stay involved in these games because he's making plays. And he's lanky, and he's got the sticky fingers. Like I think that you continue to find a place for him, and I don't think there's anything wrong with having a little bit of a rotation in that secondary to keep guys fresh and healthy. You do it on the defensive line all the time. You just don't normally have that luxury of doing it with secondary players. Bears might be in a rare position to be able to do some of that, and they all are slightly different in how they can match up against opposing wide receivers. Like like you said, like you don't want to get ahead of yourself here, but as this team continues to maybe get back into a little bit better health from a defensive standpoint, this defense could start to come on. The
Yeah.
offense is showing improvement. Like they really are aiming at playing their best football in December.
That's what you want to see. I got one more just right before we got here, and I want to just shout out the special teams because we've been critical of them, in a few weeks here, but I thought they all played pretty good, especially in bad conditions. You just mentioned Cairo Santos hit his field goal, he hit his extra points. Troy Taylor wasn't the best day for him, but look, some of those punts the wind just took, and the coverage was good. There was a huge hit, I think it was by Travis Homer. The special teams is fired up. They're out there making plays, they're making tackles, they're making big shots, and you see that happen. That kind of, again, it's one of those things where you kind of motivate the whole team. Everyone gets juiced up when they see Travis Homer come in there and make the huge hit like he did. So I just want to make sure I shout out the special team because bad conditions, they didn't cost the Bears the game.
Yeah, really good point. And I can't imagine a worse situation for a punter than like a crazy windy day, because you're not punting a spiral generally, right? And like a tight spiral can cut through the wind fairly well. And that's like guys that maybe throw a wobbler, they'd really struggle in the wind because you got that surface area and it's going to take off the point of the ball. And like, if you're throwing right in the wind, a punt, that's just kind of out there, right? So it's really at the whims of the wind, and that can certainly impact those guys as well. So nice shout out there. All right. Anything before we close it out with the YouTube crowd on a little Q&A?
Just a fun game. This is such a good time to be a Bears fan, and this is what we all hope for. I was thinking about it, this is probably the biggest win we've had in our Bear and Balance era by far. I mean, this was just a fun one, and I'm glad we jumped on here early on Saturday to kind of get it out of the way because we're both excited. We both want to talk about this. I have another show I'm going to do with another one of my guys in an hour here because everyone wants to talk about the Bears. It's just it's a fun time to be a fan.
And I mean, Bears fans, if you stuck through this with this team for the last
you deserve
years, you deserve it. Like if this is, I'm so happy that Ben Johnson is everything I thought he would be, because we talked about this before the year. I'm like, look, all of my intellectual energy about football has built towards this point. And if Ben Johnson doesn't work, if he can't make this thing work, then I don't know anything about football.
Yeah.
Because this is everything that I would like to see, is I believe this is what he embodies. And if it doesn't work, then I might just have to start watching soccer or something. I don't know what it is that I need to be doing. It's just, I don't know, watch movies or something, because it's clearly football is not my thing. So I'm so happy that Ben Johnson is making me believe in my analysis here, because everything is coming together. It's been a lot of fun, and this is a next level game. This was fantastic. Glad we had an opportunity to jump on early, and now we get they're going to get the first part of the week off. So
yes, we do.
All right, we'll stick around for the YouTube crowd. For those of you that are joining us on the podcast, thanks for joining us, and until next time, bear down.
I wish I knew the answer to this from Depth Defender. When's the last time the Bears made 80+ offensive plays? I feel it could have happened earlier this year, maybe against the Bengals, but it doesn't happen very often. I wish I had the Pro Football Reference stat head thing, because those I think I may have to invest in that, and because that I like the numbers. I enjoy digging into that, and I'm always like you, asking Sam or asking Jack, hey, can you look this up for me?
Yeah,
I'm curious.
I'm being cheap for a site that I use all the time.
I'm literally on Pro Football Reference multiple times a day. Like, of all the sites I visit, and I visit, I am on that all the time. It's because I'm just curious, like something I'll get an idea. Oh, I want to look up this. I want to check this out, and having this ahead, I think I got to invest. I have to do it.
Well, I still got to try to do something with this or track it down. But I mean, that thing about the player from the Vikings and from 1985, whose name is Buster Rhymes. And he's like, is this guy or somehow related to Buster Rhymes? And I was like, oh, that was the inspiration for the name. And I was like, I found that through looking at a random Pro Football Reference page. Like, I'm probably the only person one of the few people in history that would just be, scrolling along a 1985 games and then see that. But that's our life, man. That website and a few other essentials are really important. I see number one Bears fan and Chris are chatting about how good Ben looks with his shirt off.
Shirtless
So
Ben. It's
there
funny
you
that
go.
as soon as it happened, I'm like, I got to write this up and put it on the site because not everyone does social media, right? So I
Sure.
try and put some stuff on Windy City Gridiron, and we had a few comments in there from some of our, I'm assuming, female commenters. Oh, look at Ben. Very very excited that he has that going for him. So that's good for Ben. He's a married man, I'm assuming. Yeah, right. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
married,
he's a married
married
guy.
and
Comes
kids. So yeah, but
yeah.
nah, he's Chicago's next sex symbol there.
Well, there's there was the pictures of him and his wife going to Wrigley Field
That's right.
every year for their annual baseball trip. They
Yes.
go to a weekend at Wrigley every year and watch the Cubs. So um, for those of you Sox fans out there, that's great, but also Ben's a Cubs guy,
He's
and
a Cubs
part of
guy.
why he wanted to come to Chicago, I think, is because he felt a real kinship to the city because of the Cubs. So at least lay off the North Siders a little bit when you're thinking about that.
Ryan had a comment, but Bears legit, and yet there's so much room to get better. Future is bright. Yeah, that's the cool thing about this is there's so much more room to grow. I mean, you watch a game and you're like, oh man, yeah, like all quarterbacks make plays, all offenses have moments, all defenses have moments, but there's just so much more room for this to grow, right? The Ben Johnson, Dennis Allen, their kinship and where they're taking this, and the culture of this team and how it's growing and building, and you start building this culture, and look, that's why the good teams stay good, right? It's not just because of the players, it's because of the culture. You have a good culture, and now you have free agents may want to come to Chicago. They may want to come play
Right.
with Chicago. If the money's fairly equal, well, I think I'd rather go play for Ben Johnson. I want to be in his offense, right? You have even your own guys, your own in-house guys. Well, I don't want to leave. Yeah, I'll take a little less because I love where I'm at. I love the situation I'm in. Yeah, the Cardinals are offering me a lot more money, but who wants to play for that stupid ass franchise? I want to be in Chicago, right? So that's kind of why the good teams always stay good. It's that culture, and it took a while to get here. We're in how many year 4 of Ryan Poles, but but maybe they are finally there.
Yeah, we can leave the polls conversation for the offseason and all that kind of stuff. But the idea that it sure felt like to me that draft that those position coaches were very involved in those
Yes.
selections. Some of the reactions to these selections and how excited some of those position coaches were, to bring in their guy, right? That tells me that, Poles was really interested in having staff buy-in for who they brought in the door, not be like, hey, I took this guy because I like him, coach him up, right? I think it's like, yeah, okay, like you like this guy, I like this guy, let's bring him in the building and get the most out of him, right? So conversations for the future, but this is ideally that's how those things work, is that your coaching staff is working with your front office and you're identifying talent that you can draft and develop or that you can bring in to fill a hole from in the free agency. I mean, this idea with Nahshon Wright, people are like, I got to extend him. It's like, or you don't, because you have enough in house and he goes and makes a bunch of money elsewhere. He counts positively in the comp formula. You get a draft pick and maybe bring on another guy that you see some similar skills to. And this coaching staff becomes developers of that talent. And then all of a sudden, now you're really cooking because you get more shots in the draft, or you got more capital to trade up for that guy that you really want. Or, hey, the Bears traded for Joe Thuney, right? They saw an opportunity. They use a draft pick to trade for Joe Thuney. You have more capital like that, regardless of how you build it. You're able to use it in new and creative ways. And all of a sudden, now you're really having a foundation of success.
Yeah, you talk about a secondary, Terrell Smith, he's injured, right? And
Yep.
I want to see how he's coached up by this staff. Zay Frazier, rookie. We talk about how the staff got some other guys. That was clearly a guy that Al Harris targeted, right, in the draft. That they talked about him. He just couldn't play. Whatever his personal situation is that he was dealing with, he's got to take care of that. Hopefully he comes back because, he's got some of those similar to Nahshon Wright, similar skill set to that, right? So you want to see how they kind of build him up. Maybe he's the next Nahshon Wright. Maybe in a couple of years, now he's the guy that's like, wow, where'd this guy come from? He went from the Bears IR to practice squad, and now look at him, just really doing a good job. This coaching staff really brought him up. So Yeah, you got to work hand in hand. That's what Ben Johnson talked about. You know, he's looking for a place he can kind of have that connection with the GM and kind of build it together, and that's what we're seeing here.
I didn't see what else you put up. Do you got anything else?
It was take the North, never give it back. Now the Bears have been NFC North leaders for a couple weeks. It's fun. This week against the Packers is going to be a very interesting game.
Why don't we do that last one? I'll put it up. Do the Bears need to beat the Packers to be considered a good team? I mean, now we're just parsing words, right? Like, well, what's good, what's great, what's whatever. But I think that this was a house money game.
They're good. It's a good team.
And so now it's like, well, you're good. Like, it's not a question of, I mean, again, anything could happen in these last 5 games, right? Let's not, it's football, things could happen. But you go on the road and you beat the Eagles, who are a good football team. No one's going to tell you they're not. And you beat them like that, you're a good football team. Now, you beat the Packers on the road, and you now have a game and a half lead in the division, and you're now like fighting for the top seed in the NFC. Now you start to have different kinds of conversations. We've been having a conversation about what do they need to do to get in the playoffs? Let's get a chip in the chair. Let's see what can happen. Let's go have some fun on Wild Card Weekend. Maybe pull out a win. Let's have a little fun in January. You start doing things like that. Now it's like, oh, we got to kind of change the structure of the conversation, right? And, right now, I think you and I would probably agree, like, hey, if we can split with Green Bay, that's great. That's what we want here. But if you go into Green Bay and you win this first one, well, now you're having conversations about, let's sweep them, and let's try to wrap up the North, and let's see if we can go get that bye. Like, it's a very different conversation, right? So it's not a house money game per se, like I thought the last one, because division game, but it's a different conversation if you can go into Green Bay and knock them out. Now people, like, the national narrative they can't talk down to the Bears if they're able to go into Green Bay and knock them out in their house.
It's funny. A few weeks ago, Packer fans were ready to fire their head coach, right? And now all of a sudden it's like, that tells you the mentality of Packer fans. They're pretty much dumbasses, right? You're trying to fire one of the best coaches you've had in a long time, one of the best coaches in the NFL. Just a few weeks ago, so don't try and come talk football with me, because you're clearly a dumbass. So this is why I don't interact with. I don't trash talk other fans' bases.
Right.
I don't interact with them because for the most part they're idiots. That's what I've noticed. That's my. I'm sure there's some good fans out there, and I have had some good conversations. I did an Eagles podcast this last week with a guy. Awesome guy. He knew football. He knew his Eagles. Was a fun conversation. But for the most part, a lot of these guys just, what are you doing here? I don't really need your opinion on the Bears. So yeah, it's interesting now where the Packers are. Look, they've been a good team all year. They had a couple hiccups here and there. That's a good team. And look, if the Bears can go into Lambeau and beat them there, yeah, the conversation changes. Now you're talking Super Bowl.
I mean, and just like the knuckleheads and other fan bases, we have them too. Like, yes. and there's a lot of infighting in the fan base, especially, on social media and Facebook and on the website and message boards. Like, I mean, there's knuckleheads everywhere. I think in general, inside the division, boy, a lot of knuckleheads that'll come out and feel comfortable talking trash to the Lions fans, Packers fans, Vikings fans, and they're all different levels of annoying based on where you live and who you work with and who you're friends with and all that kind of stuff. I grew up in an area with a lot of Packers fans and a lot of Vikings fans and a lot of Bears fans. It's pretty much split evenly between those three. So I've got a lot of people in my life that like those two. I don't really know a lot of Lions fans, and the guys that I have gone on their podcast with Pride of Detroit, really good guys. I've met one of them, in real life, and nice guy. Like, I don't mind those guys. And then sometimes they fire off tweets where I'm like, man, what are you doing? Like, it is what it is. It's hard to not just get irritated with the teams in your own division. So I think it's a little easier to go outside the division, particularly if you don't have like a real heated history with that team. Their fans are generally a little better. But even this, like, last week, there were Pittsburgh fans that were being super weird and annoying. The Bears fans were like, what is happening here? There's one guy I tweeted out because I thought it was bizarre, but he was like, after the Philly game, he's like, Bears are trash. we'll see you guys in the playoffs.
I saw that.
And someone's like, the Super Bowl? And he's like, no, earlier than that. And I'm like, are you 11? Like, what? How do you not understand conferences or how playoffs are? Like, this is the weirdest thing to not understand the ascent, the basics. And this guy had 55,000 followers.
Yeah.
I thought, what is this world?
There's some rage baiting, obviously, some blue checks. He's trying to get those 20 Elon bucks this month.
Sure, yeah. You gotta fill the gas tank somehow, I guess.
I saw some stuff. Like, I try and ignore so much of it on social media because I'm like, I don't want to elevate their stupidity. But sometimes
that's why I screenshot, and I don't want to give them any credit, but I still want to come.
Yeah. So stupid though. But no, it's fun, man. It's man, look at us, right?
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
All right, guys, appreciate it. We're gonna get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, holiday weekend. Hopefully you had a good time and you can recover, and just go into tomorrow knowing you already got a victory in your pocket. So then nothing better than that. So we'll see you next week after the Green Bay game at our normal time.